Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach COLIN here. We are talking about an incident that happened recently in Boulder. And even more so, the incident not being branded as wanting to stay away from terms like terror or anything like that when this attack occurred. And of course, we all know who is staying away from that type of stuff. MSNBC, CNN, they wanted to stay away from that type of thing. They're like, this is not a terror attack. That's ridiculous. And then up popped this gentleman right here, not Joe Rogan, but this gentleman right here. His name is Mohammed Sabri Soleiman. He's Egyptian. And the second CNN found out he was Egyptian, they were like, and apparently the FBI, oddly, this is not how they usually act, but they wanted to just run with that right away. They wanted to just know it was that type of attack, treat it as such, and just go for it. CNN has actually been coming down quite hard on the FBI, and Kash Patel is actually going to talk about it. Now, when it comes to the whole Epstein thing, we all know how we all feel about Kash. We've all voiced it very clearly, but this is actually something to talk about a little bit. The fact that they wouldn't allow him to brand it as a terror attack and treat it that way and prosecute or like investigate it that way. And then just to talk about the attack in general that happened. It was very odd attack. Now, I'm going to get into that, and then I'll break down the whole thing, and I'll show you where CNN was faltering in branding it as such. Because at first, they actually branded it as a white male. They were hoping it was just a white guy who did it, of course. Because that's what makes sense in CNN world. In the upside down world, that's what makes sense. But it turned out to be an Egyptian guy. Or is it? Let's get into it. Start with the Joe Rogan clip, and then we'll jump into some other stuff.
You know,
it's a gong show.
Is it surprising how dysfunctional it is to you?
Well, I think I would change that a little bit. I think I'm thrilled at how functional most of the FBI is. I'm shocked at the levels of depravity, and even me, that few in leadership would do to alter that and then go out to the public and lie about it. Like you got James Comey running around, and he can yell at me all he wants, and Andy McCabe can too. This is another perfect example, right? These two guys used to run the Bureau. And we had a guy in Denver without a shirt off, running around, throwing 16 Molotov cocktails on human beings, shouting "Free Palestine." I got that information because I'm the director of the FBI, and I put out a statement because the American people need to know. We are investigating this matter as an act of terrorism. CNN, New York Times come in and crush us. These guys don't know what they're doing. How dare they label it as such? The investigation is still ongoing. And I said, yes, I'm investigating the matter in which a man who was from overseas in Egypt threw Molotov cocktails at American citizens at a peaceful rally and screamed "Free Palestine." That's what you want your FBI doing. What you don't want your FBI doing is having New Orleans and Super Bowl and having another known terrorist come in there and run people over and kill them, and then have the FBI go to the podium and say, this is not an act of terrorism. That is the...
Man, I just have to say really quick, the body language that he displays, the eye contact, everything has changed from this clip to when he was talking about Epstein. And go back and check it if you don't believe me. Go check it. It was at an hour, and I think you go from an hour and 15 to an hour 30 minutes. Go check. The body language has completely changed, completely looking Joe in the eye. Very confident all of a sudden. Even the voice, the cadence, everything has changed. So confident because this is a true story. This is real. Like, we're going to talk about it. It kind of just makes me realize, and I'm not going to keep harping on the Epstein thing, although we should keep doing that. But from the way he was acting when he was talking about that to talking about this, it kind of gives him away again. And I know this is not what the video is about, but I just had to say it. It's like a different guy all of a sudden.
The politicization of the FBI. That's what we've changed. And I think the American people are seeing it, and I think our results are speaking to it.
But that doesn't even make sense that the New York Times would criticize that and criticize the description of it as an act of terrorism when it, by definition, is an act of terrorism. But the action itself, you're throwing Molotov cocktails on human beings that are at a political, peaceful rally. That's terrorism, isn't it? I mean, what is terrorism if that's not terrorism?
And what I can say, remember, the charging is for the Department of Justice and
Right.
their partners. What I can say is what I'm investigating it as. And that's what I'm investigating it as, because the facts to that point in time, quickly relayed to me by our people in the field, the pros, said, hey, this is what we got. This is what happened. Everyone's talking about it. Let's report out to the American people what we can responsibly. And that was a responsible way of doing it. But that's what I'm saying. These people that used to run the FBI are coming in there, and they would have made the same decisions. It's just the fact that we're making them, and they got fired because they got caught conspiring against the United States of America and weaponizing the FBI, and CNN's giving them a platform. They keep crippling this country by putting out these stupid statements. Or not stupid, these intentionally false statements to attack us. And again, you can hit me and Bongino all you want. We don't care. We're winning. I believe we're winning this fight. We're winning it because the American people are like, hey, that was an act of terrorism. I hope you get the bad guys. And I don't know if you just saw, but we also remember the fertility clinic that was bombed in Southern California. We just busted the co-conspirator in Poland and brought him back last night. And now he's getting charged because publicly what we can say is he procured something like 45 pounds of ammonium nitrate. So what we're doing is investigating acts of terrorism as acts of terrorism. And we're utilizing our authorities overseas under that to give the American people justice. The guy didn't act alone. What about the shooter, the savage shooter in Washington, D.C., who comes in and murders 2 people for the Israeli embassy in cold blood? Just literally, 21? I don't know how many shots, right? Yelling something, free Gaza, whatever. We investigated that as an act of terrorism because that's what it is. And that's what the American people deserve to hear. I'm not saying they don't have a presumption of innocence. I'm not saying that they're going to be convicted at trial. But I'm telling you as the director of the FBI what I'm doing as the number 1 cop in this country and who is in charge of investigations. That's my call to make, and I'll make it every time.
I just don't understand how the media, particularly the thing in Colorado, how they could print that this is not an act of terrorism and not diminish all of whatever credibility they have left. I just don't understand why they would even be willing to do that.
I think it all goes back to the same derangement syndrome that people have.
Yeah.
Their hatred for certain individuals and people who dare to work in those administrations is so great that they don't care about the truth. They care about the platform. And they'll go on and they'll be given a platform on TV or in print media or on other shows. And there's still a significant portion of the American populace that is willing to give them their ear. That's what I'm trying to change. We're never going to get everybody, but if we can get 10% of them, I think it's a home run. We get 20, we're totally winning all day long. But it's going to take time.
Yeah, I mean, I know that people are everybody wants Ozempic today, right? They just want it, they want a quick fix. And when you're dealing with 4 years of whatever the hell was going on and 9 million people being released into this country and all the stuff that comes with it, it just would stand to reason. It would take a long time to unravel all that or to fix all the problems that were created.
That is, man, I hope you clip that and play that over and over again. That's what I've been trying to explain to people. I'm like, we're going to fix as much as we can, but you guys want answers yesterday for problems that have been metastasizing for decades.
Also, you want to have all the information in place when you finally do go public with everything where you can't miss things, not cross a T, dot an I, and someone can get off.
That, and we also, two-pronged, that is just as equally as important as the following. We want to fix the institution so it doesn't happen again. That's the bigger win. Catching the bad guys is the everyday job. We're going to do it. Calling out the people who corrupted the place in the past is hugely important. But leaving the American people, an FBI, a DOD, a CIA, a functional national security apparatus is my ultimate goal.
So the apparatus that was in place before that was so...
Man, when he says stuff like that, I do believe that that's what he wants. That's what he wants at the end of the day. I don't think he's some con man that's really trying to make sure it's more corrupt than when he came like when he leaves as it was when he came. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess part of that is I want to believe him. I want to believe that there is somebody that we were all pushing for, that we were all excited about, and they're actually gonna do Freudian slip there. They're actually gonna do the right thing. But man, it really speaks how his body language and everything changed when he started talking about this stuff, which makes me believe him about this, but makes me believe him even less about what he said about Epstein. Oh, way less. I mean, even as I'm listening to this, he starts talking about the other two people who were unalived in cold blood, and somebody, they point blank, bang, two people, Israeli embassy, all that stuff. Bringing up those people, you kind of dug up some trauma for the people, the family members of those people. You dug up that trauma just now. It's on the biggest platform in the world. They're going to hear about that. He didn't talk about it all kindly like I just did. He was like, they were taken out, and what about those people? The family's going to be a little hurt by that. And the only reason I bring that up, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but he said when it came to the Epstein thing, he's like, I'm not going to re-victimize these victims. I'm not going to show these victims because then he wins. But it's like, you just did that in that case where two people lost their lives. Well, you know what I mean? Man, that's what happens when you listen to interviews twice and three times. Things just start uncovering, It's sad. It's sad, man. Let's move on. Let's jump over here. So this was the guy that they were talking about in Boulder. This is a very, very odd case, in my opinion. I know for a lot of people, it's very cut and dry. He was a bigot. He was a bad man. He's shirtless for a reason. Do you guys know this? I wonder if I have any footage of this. So let's just jump over to the footage of him. Where is it? Where he's actually, this is after he has thrown the cocktails, okay?
We can! Not here! You have to end Zionist! Not here, bro! You're not!
People are taking video right now. He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his back.
Spraying alcohol,
but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails. Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on.
If you are fighting, you have to.
That's what he's got right here. Is Molotov.
They are killers.
Get back, Mom.
I got to be honest, I'm not one of these hero types, but I feel like at this point, I'm tackling this guy. All he has is liquid. It's not the way those things work is you got to light them. He has two bottles in his hand. He doesn't even have anything to light it with. Take this guy. You know what I mean? I don't know listen. I'm what is it called? Armchair quarterbacking. That's what I'm doing right now. Obviously, I'm stand-up desk quarterbacking in this situation. But I don't know, man. He can't do anything. He has two bottles in his hand. The worst he's going to do with you is hit you with a bottle that has alcohol in it. It's all good. And, okay, so the only reason I'm showing you this is because the reason that he's shirtless is because he decided to throw one of these cocktails. And he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, don't get me wrong. He did hurt people, right? He did get some people. But, and that's where the cop comes in. Cop comes in one-handed. Stand down. That cop knew what a non-threat this guy was. I'm just saying, I know he was a threat. He did something terrible, but still. So what he ended up doing was he threw it, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So he throws it. And you're not supposed to throw them like this. Now, don't ask how I know this, but you're supposed to light these things, and you're supposed to go. It's like a toss you're supposed to do. You can't throw them. These are not baseballs you got. You got to go. Okay? You got to do that. He doesn't do that. He goes like this. When you do that, the alcohol comes out and the fire. So it's just like a little flamethrower. It lights his whole suit up. He's wearing like a vest and everything. It lights him up. He has a hat on, everything. Lights him up. He has to tear it off. It was the worst intro to doing an attack you could ever see in your life. I can't show you that because it's all fire and YouTube has a thing about that because it's violence, etc., etc. But that's why he's shirtless. He's a moron. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a terrible guy, but he's an idiot. He burnt himself. It's just so ridiculous. Oh man, it's like we really are in a simulation right now. It's just nuts. And then he ends up like this. That's why he has that thing, because he burnt his own face. Oh my god. It's ridiculous. So ridiculous. You're in there with all the other terrorists and it's like, oh well, I did this and whole building came down. Oh, I did this and I was in a car and this guy's like, alhamdulillah, I burned my face. I threw a cocktail. I hit people. Zionist, yes, it was very good. But I burned myself just as bad. It was really bad. No, I wasn't supposed to. No, I wasn't going for the virgins in heaven. No. I just, I miscalculated and I burned my face and my suit and it was very bad. It made it so I couldn't do any more attack. You just have the worst story. It's like the gangbanger that shoots himself in the foot, Anyway, this is Trump's people giving their response about the whole thing. Listen to this.
I just want to say, happy Monday. The weather is
Of course, that's how I'm listening to it. You guys know me.
beautiful. We have another very busy week here at the White House, as you know. The Chancellor of Germany will be here later this week on Thursday for a visit with the President. The President will also be holding a roundtable with law enforcement later this week as well. Today he is packed with meetings and calls on all of the challenges our country faces, but there's a lot of good news on the economic front as well. You see the inflation report. Inflation is down. We saw a report this morning showing that incomes are up. Consumer confidence in May jumped to the highest it has had a month jump in 4 years. So there's a lot of good news. There's a lot of work to do, and the president's hard at it. So why don't I take a few questions?
Caroline. What can you say to the Jewish community today to ensure that the White House is doing everything they can to keep them safe after the horrific attack in Boulder, and also the 2 Israeli embassy staff who were targeted just last week here in our nation's capital?
Yeah, we have seen 2 horrific cases of anti-Semitic violence in our country in the last 2 weeks, and it is unacceptable to this president and this White House. And rest assured, to all Jewish Americans across our great country, this president has your back, and he's not going to allow anyone to take part in violent terrorism, acts of terrorism in our country. And that's what this case in Boulder, Colorado is being investigated as. Kudos to our FBI director, Kash Patel, for immediately calling this a targeted terrorist attack. That's clearly what it was. But I'd also like to point out that this administration has done more than any administration to curb this violence and to curb illegal immigration. We secured our border in record time, but we're also tightening up our visa process and our legal immigration process. And we know that this individual, this terrorist, was allowed into this country by the previous administration, was foolishly given a tourism visa, and then was illegally allowed to stay. These individuals are going to be deported, and we're not going to tolerate such violence in our country.
So she kind of stumbled over her words. She said he was illegally allowed to stay. That's not what happened. He had a visa and it expired in 2022 and he just stayed. So it's not illegally allowed to stay. It's kind of jumbling over, but basically he just overstayed his welcome. He was supposed to leave. He knew he was supposed to leave. And like so many people who are in the illegal situation, they just go, I'm just going to build a life here. It seems so unhinged to me to have, and maybe it speaks to just how bad it is where they're from, but it seems so unhinged to me for you to be like, yeah, they want me to leave. Yeah, I could get deported. I don't know, charged. I don't know, maybe even jail. I don't know. I'm just going to have a bunch of kids. What? What'd you say? Yeah, I'm going to get married. I'm going to have a bunch of kids. Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. I'm not even speaking I'm not even doing the whole get out of this country right now. I'm not even doing that. But just think about it, man. The guy has 5 kids. He has 5 kids. all in America, has a wife. The guy's supposed to be a provider and a father, but the reason that he doesn't care about all that is, here, let me show you this. This is actually a video of this guy. He was actually very radicalized. This is him basically saying jihad is more important. Like I can play it, but it's in his language, so you won't even understand. But he's basically saying jihad is more beloved to me than my mother, my wife, my children. Allah is greater than the Zionists and America. So he was very, very radicalized. I mean, this is him in America. This is him saying this in America. So, these are the type of people that not everybody's like this, but this is the reason why Trump won on running on getting rid of illegal immigrants. Because if there's millions, that means there's at least, and I'm not a mathematician, but you would think there's at least thousands like this. And thousands like this can do a lot of damage. A lot of damage. This guy doesn't know what he's doing at all, but still, there might be some people who are more organized and aren't going to be shirtless at some small rally like this. They're going to do something real, So let's move on here. We can just play. You know what? We all know what Fox News is going to say. Fox News is going to say, "Oh my God, Biden, and what are we going to do about this?" That's all Fox News is going to say. Which is fine. Fox News is great. But let's move over to this point here. Actually, CNN. Let's move over to CNN because apparently his family has been taken into ICE custody because obviously this is what you should do. He has 5 kids. They're not all daughters. What if one of his sons wants to take up where he's getting left off right now?
Sources tell CNN that the family of the suspect in the anti-Semitic Molotov cocktail attack has been taken into ICE custody. According to court filings, the suspect, Mohammed Soleiman, has a wife and 5 children. At this moment, it remains unclear what the immigration status of those family members may be. Here to discuss, former FBI Deputy Director and CNN Senior Law Enforcement Analyst Andrew McCabe. Sir, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Can you talk to us a little bit about, clearly this was a horrible attack. We heard from the president yesterday saying he blamed President Biden and those immigration policies for the fact that he was in the country. But now, of course, this has gone on to affect his family. Is this usually...
They will not say terror. They will not use that term in regards to this guy. A lot of people are joking in the comments saying that they're just going to call this guy the Boulder father. Just like the Maryland man, it's just going to turn into that type of thing.
How things like this are handled?
Casey, there's not much about this situation that's usual, right? It's, as you mentioned, a horribly violent, unprovoked attack on citizens, most of them elderly in Boulder, Colorado, who were engaged in a peaceful remembrance, really, not even a protest, to draw attention to the plight of the Israeli hostages. The situation with the family is really curious because we know from reporting that the family has been pretty cooperative. We know that they voluntarily surrendered his cell phone. They took his cell phone to the local police station and turned it over. We also know that the FBI, the leader of the Denver field office, said yesterday during the press conference that the family had been cooperative and been speaking to investigators. So to put the family in custody at this point, if that's been done purely for immigration reasons, it's a bit of an odd move, to be honest. As an investigator, if you have a cooperative family that's providing information about your attacker, you might want to really work with them and not threaten their cooperative stance by putting them in custody right away. You can always do that later if their immigration status is in doubt. It's possible that the family could actually provide information that you might need at trial or might be helpful at trial if they were willing to testify as to things they heard the attacker say or prep.
Information? What is this guy talking about? This is a closed case. What are we talking about here? This is a closed case. This is done. This guy's on camera for 2 minutes screaming about this thing, and he's on camera burning himself and other people. This is done. They don't need much assistance from the family. Like what more do they need in this case? This guy should already be live. This should have already been processed. I gotta be honest. What are we waiting on here? This is bring this in front of a judge real quick. I don't get it. The family could. You don't want to really. Yeah, you do. You want to get the family in custody right away, especially if their status is like his status. What? Right away. What if they left? Do you know how many illegal immigrants just leave from wherever they are and no one can find them? You don't know if they're in Colorado or New Zealand. They're just gone. America's huge, huge. So of course you have to detain them right away, only because CNN won't say this, act of terror. Act of terror, it's a different thing. You have to make sure, because now you don't know if this family is some kind of cell. You just have no idea. But CNN talking about, like, you could get some help from the family. What? If you took the family, the thing about it is I just didn't understand their actions. If you take a family out to ice cream, I mean, President Biden was always big on mint chocolate chip. If you take a family out to ice cream, you're more than likely going to get some great information from them, okay? And some good times to be had by all. Anyway, nothing's happening in Los Angeles right now. Just some peaceful protests. Back to you.
Operations they saw him embark upon, things like that. They can give you a context for how he became radicalized. So by putting them in custody, you definitely take the chance that they are no longer in a position to cooperate, and you might cut off that stream of information. That's the one thing that really kind of catches my eye about it as an investigator.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to think about it. Yeah, in terms of, one thing that we've seen the Trump, Mr. McCabe had to say about the investigation. You, as a prosecutor, how do you look at it?
Oh, I think this is another one where the political and legal realities may not line up. Certainly, there's probably strong public interest in immigration action being taken against the folks. But as we've seen over these last months, sometimes immigration actions trigger legal challenges. Now, I understand, now again, we're just getting information about this, that they're seeking to get them out of the country via expedited removal. And depending on what's in the background that they're finding, that may or may not be a basis for doing so. So number one, like, was there fraud in their applications? Then they could enter into expedited removal proceedings. Is there, had they come very recently? No, because they've been here for quite some time. So there are some questions that need to be asked. But again, I get it. There are reasons why people are going to want them removed. If they haven't committed a crime, merely being the family member of someone who's a notorious figure is not itself grounds for removal from the country, even if they were unlawfully present.
Yeah, Sabrina.
I feel like it is, though. Like, I know he's saying that. Yeah, I can't compare it to this guy's knowledge set. He's a woke prosecutor, but I feel like it is grounds to be like, you gotta leave. All you guys gotta leave. I mean, fathers are lead, and this is not legal or anything like this, but fathers are the leaders of families. I'm the leader of this family. I can't tell my wife what to believe, but I do lead the family with my beliefs. And I'm sure he was doing the same thing. I'm just saying. And then to the question, how did he get radicalized? He actually got radicalized. There was a great breakdown of it, but it was too much. It was just too much. I didn't want to go through it all, but somebody did a lot of research and they just figured out who he was following on Facebook in regards to pages that he was following. And a lot of them were radicalized type of stuff. And that's what he was doing. He was just very engaged with those pages. And it just turned into this. Now, there's also the aspect of possibly being some kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, sleeper cell, I'd guess. And he was just there, waiting for his time to do his thing. That's a theory. Then there's the other theory. Listen, you put on your tinfoil for this, okay? Don't want to upset anybody. Then there's the theory of, who is this guy? Is he actually from Egypt? The thing is, he's in Egypt. He's a resident of Egypt. They know that for sure. Where was he before that? They don't know, really. Let's be honest. They don't know. No one's fully saying he's Egyptian, but he was in Egypt and then came to America. Now, the reason I say this is because there are many people, and this is known in Pakistan, that they are making fake passports all the time. I'm not saying this guy's from Pakistan. I think he's from somewhere else. Maybe. Who knows? But they're making fake passports all the time. And In Pakistan, they make fake Indian passports. Then they go to India. Then from India, it's easy for them to get into Canada. It's easy for them to get in on a student visa into Canada. And then from there, just disappear. Canada has 50,000 people who are supposed to be on student visas that they actually can't find. They can't find these people. They don't know where they are. They're not accounted for. They're not in school. They're not in their classes. They're just gone. Don't know where they are. A lot of people would speculate that they're probably in America because it would be easier for them to get in through the northern border. A lot of people, now, obviously, who knows if all 50,000 of them are there, but that is something that's happening all the time. So when you see a case like this, you can't be fully sure where this guy actually originates from. Just saying. Now, if I jump over here really quick, where's this guy's? This is a weird thing too. This guy's one of the witnesses, and I don't care what anybody says. He looks like this guy. Does he not? I'm not saying it's the same guy, but I'm saying he might have been part of it too, and he was just like, I'm out of here. Took a New York hat. Hi, I am John Smith. Hi. I was on, what it is, Pearl Street? I was just having a good old family dinner, hamburger and fries, hot dogs and baseball, and then I saw, suddenly, commotion. I said, wow, this is very unusual. That's what he sounds like. It's weird.
Having food and I had water there, he ran to me and asked me for water. So I gave him 2 bottles of water that I had.
It's too quiet. It's too quiet. Let's move on to this. This channel is called, let me just show you guys this. His name is T. Spilly? T. Spilly? Oh, T. Spilly. Oh, it's a pun. That's very nice. Good job on the pun there, man. Never heard of this guy's channel before, but he's doing a breakdown of this, and he actually has a clip of CNN not wanting to call this a act of terror whatsoever when it first happened.
Does seem to be preemptive. As we know, these demonstrators are typically here peacefully as pro-Israelis. And again, the fact this guy is not even a legal citizen, he's yelling something about Zionist, he's yelling Free Palestine, he's yelling me, connecting himself to it. Honestly, the fact that his name is Mohammed really does not have much to do with this. It can be Kyle, it could be John, but contextually speaking, everything does align in favor as far as this being a terror attack. Now, over on CNN, they seem to have an issue with the FBI even calling this violent, apparently.
I'm going to be quite direct here. The FBI director and deputy director got way ahead of where the local police were. The language that the FBI used in their tweets included words like violence, targeted terrorism, and violent.
And again, the footage you saw was already accessible to the FBI and everybody else on the internet, and this woman is well aware of it. She will actually talk about it later in the interview and during this segment. But again, I didn't make this up. She's upset that Kash Patel used the word terrorist and violent.
They got ahead of where the local police knew where the investigation was. I want to just make it clear here. This could have been an anti-Semitic attack, which is terrifying, in particular for people in the community. We don't know that because the Boulder police officer, at least according to the Boulder police officer, they're not sure if the people injured were people at the Jewish rally, the Jewish gathering. Now, maybe.
And by the way, when this interview came out, everybody else has seemed to know who those people were. We know that they were pro-Israeli.
Others in organizations know that. We know ADL and other organizations have been out on this. Maybe they have more evidence. But one of the reasons why, Andrew and I are careful in situations like this is because lots of people are saying lots of things. But when the Boulder police chief comes out and says, we don't have 2 + 2 = 4 yet. In other words, this is obviously an anti-Semitic attack and the victims were obviously part of that group. Therefore, we're not calling it terrorism. It adds a lot of, it's not good for the community. It's not good for the potentially targeted community. It makes law enforcement look disorganized and it makes the FBI look so juvenile. Like what?
You guys can leave.
Absolutely amazing to call them juvenile. Oh man, especially seeing how the case actually was and they had access to all this information. It becomes very odd that CNN seems to be this arm of, I don't even want to be like them and say disinformation. It just becomes this arm of just pushing against whatever is happening. So if Trump's doing something, if it's good, Yeah, God forbid it's questionable. Oh man, that's it for him. But even if it's good, what he's doing, even if it makes sense for Americans, they're just there to just push it aside and just potentially make the public think otherwise. And they're doing the same thing with the FBI, And I'm not I've been calling out Kash all week, all last week. That's all I was doing is calling out Kash and how ridiculous he seemed. But, to call them juvenile, I don't think I'm out of order saying that I think Kash Patel is not on the up and up in regards to talking about Epstein. I don't think he's saying everything, and I think there's certain things he's saying that just aren't true, and there's certain things that just aren't adding up between him and Pam Bondi. I'm not out of order in saying that. I'm not calling them juvenile. I'm not going against directly what they're working towards. I'm not doing that. But I definitely am calling things out. I don't know. It's just, I feel like I'm doing it differently than CNN's doing it. Surprise, surprise. Just saying. But yeah, this whole thing is pretty wild. And at the end of the day, this guy is facing 600 years behind bars. Now, the thing about it is, and I'll leave this question to you. Obviously, he's not going to live for 600 years. Come on. But he is going to go to jail. Do you want him to go to jail on the American taxpayer dime and be in jail in America? Now, a lot of people will say no. But if he gets sent back to Egypt, he may not stay in jail as long as people feel he should. And how would you feel about that? And he might have family in America still, so he might want to get back into America. And although it is much harder because of what President Trump and Tom Homan have set up, it is still possible that he might be able to get out of that Egyptian jail, not break out, but be let out earlier than he should be, and then get back to America and still have this type of rhetoric in his mind. So you tell me what you think is better, having him in jail in America or in jail in Egypt. I'm leaning towards America, quite honestly. Anyway, I'm out.